Hello, everyone. Let me get a 5x5 if you can hear me. While you're doing that, let me go ahead and say, with the disclaimer, as always, this is a work of fiction, a work of art, a work of satire. Any resemblance to actual persons or events is purely coincidental. It's not real. So therefore, any YouTube algorithm that decides to flag anything here would be inherently admitting that it is true. Dire Prep 5x5, thank you. Dynamite, glad to see you here, brother. Otaker 276, James, or Jay Helms, pardon me. Chewbacca, yes, I did get a haircut, as did your wife. Did she ask permission first, by the way? She should have done that. That was very drastic. Pilgrim Prepper, hello. Yes, shout out to all the Beaverines. Stephen S., hello from North Carolina. Just drove through there. It was sunny and 89 in Florida on Monday and then snow here on Tuesday. Yes, it sucked. Dome Seeker said, I did, and I did it in our bathroom. He was home. Okay. So there's that. Glad you can be here. Congratulations to Dome Seeker for being the first Blue Wrench ever at Warlord TV. Single Dad Prepper, how are you doing? It must be cold up there in Alaska, but must be beautiful. Anyway, on with the show. Everyone seems to think it's a massive coincidence, at least everybody on the left seems to think it's a massive coincidence that chickens just keep biting it by the hundreds of thousands in some cases. And to tie that in, some people think it's a coincidence that there's a current spike and wave of death rolling across China. Yes, I said China because at Warlord TV, we don't care about saying that place or you know who. We say China. All right? Why, if that is true? And you can never trust the media fully. Why would things like that happen, and what do they possibly have in common? I don't know. How about control? Population, control of food. Yes, control of food. Because here's why, and I'll get into the chat here shortly. If you actually research avian flu, influenza of the bird, the poultry type, it is commonly known to spread amongst wild birds to domesticated flocks. Okay, you got your Canadian geese or geese that are, European, that travel in migratory patterns and spread the virus. Well, a long time ago, in a land far away, they figured out that it has a relatively high mortality rate amongst domesticated flocks. So they said, well, let's kill them all so that way we can stop the spread. Let's isolate and contain. Stay in your homes. Stay safe. Stay home. Stay safe. But over a period of time, as we've discussed on other topics, the viruses continue to evolve. All right. For example, if you took influenza A or B, that is common today, and you somehow plucked it and dropped it in the early 19th century, it would probably kill everyone on the planet. Okay? Why? Because immune systems adapt. Guess what? We are not the only species on the planet that has immune systems. No. But someone, maybe it's they, the infamous they are holding us down. They are trying to conquer the world. They want a one world government. Someone, perhaps they, decided, not too long ago, from now on, what we will do is we will wipe out the entire flock. We will call the flock. If one bird in 100,000 gets sick, we will call the flock. Well, what does this do? It isolates and contains. It keeps all the other flocks safe in an area. Yes, today. But what about the future? Now you have flocks that are continuing to not evolve, not develop immunity against natural viruses, because that's what these are. The influenza viruses in birds, the avian flus, are natural viruses. They continue to mutate, as we've seen with the more recent one in people. It continues to mutate. And when you keep all these people or birds isolated in their little respective bubbles, but the virus continues to mutate and their immune systems do not, what inevitably happens is it goes from having a high mortality rate to a 100% mortality rate. Because if you Google simple avian flu, what percentage of birds, of chickens die from avian flu, it will give you a simple answer: 100%. That's right, all of them. But it wasn't always the case. It used to be a high mortality rate, 30%, 40%. Now, if they were thinking logically, scientifically, they would have simply let it run its course and then bred the birds that survive. And today we would not have this mass culling of birds. But that's not very good. That's not a very good strategy if you're intending on controlling the population or the food production for the population further down the road. No, it's not. And don't think that these people don't think further down the road. They normally have game plans that go 50, 60, 70 years. They're thinking generationally, where they've conditioned you not to. Now, let me hop down in here and see who all's in the chat. Same people. Curb Creeper's here. Hey, Curb Creeper, glad you could make it. Of course, Dynamite's here. Anybody else new in here? Didn't see the Prepping Artist. Hello. But yeah, so now you're starting to see that they're controlling the food supply. And eventually, as we're starting to see now, that will move off into the people sector, as China has been doing. All right. They've kept their population isolated. And well, now bad things are happening. All right. Because it's just the way it is. Now, a lot of people will think that they want to control the population. And now I'm sure there are some of you who will agree with this statement, because we are overpopulated as a planet. Now, it doesn't matter if you believe that the world is shaped like this or shaped like this. Yeah, some of you out there think the world is like this, like this. That's neither here nor there. The issue is some people think that that plane that we exist on is overpopulated, when in reality, it's not. Not if you actually look at people in space as just people in space. What we have a surplus of is consumers and a lack of producers. Because if you actually look at the population problems we have today, and in fact, on the news, I was just watching, old Creepy Joe was giving a speech about, clean drinking water. The problem is we have the bulk, especially here in the United States, a bulk of our population lives amongst the coasts, East Coast and West Coast, okay? In heavily dense cities. These cities tend to be consumers, all right? But all the land in between the coast is predominantly producers. And I'll unblock that, or Dome Seeker unblock that. There you go. But if you actually look at, and I've been to countries all over this planet, thanks to Uncle Sam, your population centers, shitholes. That's where you have your crime, you have your disease, your bad water pipes, your backed up sewage, just the general slums of society exist there. And people living on top of people, on top of people, on top of people. But regardless of the country, whether it be India, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, picking one in Africa, the highest degree of unsanitary conditions is always near the high population centers or just outside of them. But as you leave, even in the US, as you leave those and head towards producer areas, there are vast swaths of land that are just empty, right? There's no houses. So there's plenty of land for everybody if we were worried about individuals. And for that to happen, every individual would have to go from being either a consumer or producer or some combination of to being a producer, right? You'd have to produce your own. And that doesn't work for them, all right? Because ultimately, government is about power and control, just like violence. Violence is about power and control. So the consumers, see, when they're talking about, well, we need to reduce the population, they're not talking about the producers. They're not talking about the big industrial farms or the people that work on them. They're talking about the city dwellers. There's a reason why most of the lockdowns globally happen in major cities and are enforced in major cities, because that's the problem. They're not after you, they're after them. So as long as you're a producer and not a consumer and you live outside the city, then yeah, you probably have a longer life expectancy in their global overall plan. Now, that doesn't mean they don't want to control you as being a producer. They definitely do. Because again, government's about power and control. Let's jump into the chat here, see what we got. Joe Morgan, long time no see. Good to see PMP. I'm okay. Dad died in October. Well, my condolences. I'm taking care of Mom. Tommy is alive and well. He's been busy. Well, Joe, sorry for your loss. We are the resistance prepping. Tried to make it, but late anyway. It is all right. We are the resistance prepping. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time. We're just going over some things you can go back and watch. You'll understand. The way I see for us as preppers to break away from the mold is we have to stop submitting to the psychological conditioning, and it's been going on for a long time. And again, they think generations. Many of you, I'm sure, and you probably never even thought of it, condition your children. Well, someday you're going to be 18 and you're going to have to go out and go to college or go out and get a job and get a place of your own and then start your own family. This is part of their plan. You see, a lot of people think of divide and conquer as being left versus right, conservative versus progressive or liberal, when it goes all the way down to the family unit. Divide the family and conquer it. All right. Many places that I've lived in this world, Thailand, for example, in my children's mother's village, when I first went there, I was blown away, because every member of the village was related through blood or marriage. There was no, oh, well, when you turn 18, you go off and find your own place and do your own thing. The village was the family. The family was the village. Mother and father lived here. Mother and father got a divorce. Father lives here now, literally across the road. All right. Or actually, it was a giant communal area. Aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters all live in the village. They all go out and do their work, come back to the village, and they coexist, but as a family unit. In the Arab countries, a friend of mine, Mohammed, took me to meet his family one time. Went to their family compound, and of course, from the outside, it's just a giant big wall that went all the way around what we would consider basically a city block. Inside, it was Muhammad, his aunts, his uncles, his brothers, his sisters, his nieces, and they all lived in this family compound. And if one started to have hard times, they relied on the others, and vice versa. All right. This is what we need to get back to as a society. All right. I mean, you look back 150 years ago, it was not uncommon for multiple generations of family members to live on the same land. And people will say, well, yeah, well, that's back when they had land. No, that is back when families pooled resources to get shit done. All right. Now imagine if you, and let's say you had the standard family, 2.5 kids, 2 kids, a boy and a girl. You and your wife have a boy and a girl. They each grow up. They each get jobs. All of you work at building a house for them on your property. You don't have property. Well, you would if you had pooled your money and planned. And I'm getting a call. Sorry about that. Not that important. They can wait. You're more important. So as in for me right now, I'm teaching all of my children. When you grow up, we will build you a house right beside daddy's house. All right. And we will, when you grow up, you'll pool your money with your siblings, start a business, and then you'll pull money from your siblings. You will all start another business for this other sibling. And each one of them will consolidate their resources to assist the others. And then they will all go in on more land. I said, buy land and never sell it. Develop it, whatever you want to do, but don't sell it. Think about down the road. All right. And some people will say, well, that sounds like communism. No, it's consolidating, because communism, the people at the top own everything and the people beneath own nothing. In this, everyone, if there's 4 names on a deed, they all have equal share. They all have equal responsibility, and they all have the potential for equal loss. All right. They all have skin in the game. All right. Yes, Pilgrim Prepper, land is key. Hey, Curb Creeper, good to see you. Haven't seen a lot of people in here lately, though. If you're out there, if you watch this, drop a message or something. Doctor, you moved from up north in Washington down to Louisiana, I believe. Patricia Hobbs, haven't talked to you in a long time. Sorry about that. I know you sent me an email a while back. I got flooded and wasn't able to answer it. Joe Morgan says, yeah, he in 2020, when grandma was on her deathbed, I had to line several. Private conversation. Anyway, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Kwahu, I guess. I hate my family and my family hates me. Do not confuse blood and family. Yes, it's easiest to say, well, this is my family because they're related to me. And if there's a problem with, I'm going to say this and you might not like it. If a whole bunch of people don't like you, the odds are you may be the problem. So you might want to do some self-reflection. A lot of times, and I'm not saying you are, maybe 4, 5, or 6 people are right and the individual is wrong, or maybe the individual is right and the 4 or 5 people are wrong. Could be, but most of the time that I've seen when someone's like, oh, my family hates me, it's normally because you're the dick. Or whatever, or you didn't want to listen. Quaho nailed it. But you can reconcile. Buckshot Prepper. What's so funny? I'm just saying. And I've got family members that I don't talk to at all, and it's not because well, yes, I'm a dick, but it's because of their complacency. They suck off the tits of society, generational welfare types. And I can't abide that. I can't justify that. And I won't condone that. And, a lot of people say, well, they're, family's family. No, limbs of a tree, family trees have limbs. And just like in real life, if a tree limb gets rot, you need to amputate it so it doesn't infect the rest of the tree. Sometimes that's what you need to do with biological family as well. Let's see. A lot of family think you're crazy when you are a prepper. Yes, that's the prepping artist said that. Yes, they may until you're not. All right. Everybody thinks you're crazy, because you bought, 100 rolls of toilet paper until there's a toilet paper shortage and they need toilet paper. Then they're like, oh, hey, I know where we can get some. Yes. Let's see. I live in Northern California. It's better to leave the people alone. All right, Kirk Creeper. Okay, thank you. That must have been. It was held. She must be on it. It must be Dome Seeker clearing things. Yes, Dome Seeker. Unless it's like something totally insane, like somebody being mean to somebody else, you just let it roll. You know how we are. We say what we think. But yes, train your family, and it's not too late for most people. It's not too late to start conditioning your family to unite. All right. In some cases, there are going to be family members that are just lost. But if you can train, thank you, Dome Seeker. If you can train the next generation, then things will start to turn around. All right, that topic is done. Time for a new topic for the show, and I'm going to do this real quick. Next generation welfare. Yes.
New topic is I don't have a pretty blue wrench.
You're not on here, so be quiet. Dome Seeker, she's jealous because she doesn't have a pretty blue wrench, but she'll get over it. So, all right, next generational warfare. I was going to do a separate topic, a separate show all about this, but I figured if I did it, it'd probably end up getting flagged or pulled off YouTube anyway. So I just embedded into this other one, and maybe the algorithm will overlook it. Just kind of, camouflage. Next generational warfare. Now, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, fourth generational warfare or fifth generational warfare or asymmetrical warfare. That's not what I'm talking about. Next generational warfare. Everyone, even myself, says that, I would prefer a civil war or a revolutionary war or World War III even to happen now while I have the ability to fight so that my children might not have to. All right. That is the common thought. But, and however, the enemy plays the long game. They think generations out. As such, you need to as well. I need to. So now we are seeing, we wake up, we walk outside, and we go, how in the world did we go from what we had in the 70s and 80s to today, where there are litter boxes in high schools and where, all kinds of things you shouldn't see are commonly seen on TV and even in parades and things like that. It's because the enemy thinks long term. We need to prepare the next generation. What's that mean? Does that mean, teach your children how to, do a combat assault on a building, room clearing, floor by floor, room by room? Well, in some cases, if they're old enough, yes. Does it mean teaching your children basic rifle marksmanship? Absolutely. Weapon safety, firearm safety. These things are very important. You teach them to children at a young age. There will be a lot less accidental or negligent discharges if you do. And you'll have a little bit more peace of mind because when I grew up, there weren't gun safes. All right. Guns were just on the walls, hanging up, loaded most of the time. And we didn't have a bunch of accidental shootings. But when I talk about next generational warfare, teach your children how to identify the enemy. Teach your children how to identify how the enemy twists messages. When I was growing up, the rainbow meant one very specific thing. It was God's promise not to flood the earth again. The enemy takes good and makes good bad, and takes bad and makes it look good. You need to teach your children how to identify this, how to identify propaganda, how to identify when they are being targeted. You need to teach your children how to recognize the enemy. Okay? Okay. Prepare them for the battles to come, because if they drag this out long enough, it will be them that are fighting. All right. Let's see. AI can eat my shorts. There you go. Pilgrim Pepper. AI is scary. Yes, AI could be. It could be if given access to the wrong systems. Like somebody put T2000 Curb Creeper, put T2000. Yes, that would be bad. In fact, yes, Tiger 13. 100% God's promise. That's what it was. Now it means LGBTQ whatever. Okay, so they take good bad, make good look bad, and bad look good. My children, like, oh, rainbow, that means God's not going to drown us all to death again. Yeah. Yes, Buckshot Pepper, teach them the Bible, but I don't believe that's all they'll need. They'll need somebody to point out things, because nowadays, even if you send your children to Sunday school, take them to church, most Christians, and I use that term lightly, will say, well, God said this and God said that, and you should be peaceful. God instructed people to go to war quite often. He demanded the slaying of giants. All right. And some people ignored that and wandered the desert for 2 generations. Just saying. Bring back the training videos, hypothetically speaking. I will. I've been going through a little SHTF of my own over the past few months with parts and equipment going down, and it's just been rather chaotic, but I will try to bring them back. You know what? I will not try to bring them back. I will bring them back. It's just a matter of me getting around to it. Busy bee. But again, I teach my children, this is, one, I teach my children what their purpose on earth is. If you don't know why you're on earth, I'm glad you came. You are on the right channel. Now, some of you won't like this, and I don't really give a shit, because there's going to be a couple of you. Your purpose, the whole meaning of life is to worship and serve God. That's it. That's your purpose. Now, how do we do that? We do that through praise and by fighting the enemies of God. And this is what I teach my children. Fighting the enemies of God. How do we recognize them? How do we know what they look like? They're the ones that are doing the opposite of what they're supposed to do. It's pretty simple. They're the ones that are saying that good is bad and bad is good. Those are the enemies of God. All right. And, if you want to go Old Testament, you should find them and slay them where you find them. That is also in the Quran as well, as the Torah. So there's that. And people will be like, oh, well, that's cruel and mean. And how could anyone? Because if you don't look at the society you get, all right, love your neighbors, but not every human being on your block is your neighbor. Your neighbor thinks similar to you and lives similar to you. So people that are in direct opposition of your way of life are not your neighbors. They're your opposition. That's why the word opposition exists. Opposite. All right. Symbols, signs, and teachings. Yes. Yes, Doc, go. Yeah, but Sodom and Gomorrah, that's where we're at today, which is funny because you will hear the most patriotic people. I will see the most patriotic people in the chat, whether it be this channel or Prepper Nation's channel or somebody on Magic Prepper channel, the most patriotic people who love God and country, but will not acknowledge, or even if they do acknowledge, how similar to Sodom and Gomorrah this country is, they will lose their shit if they hear Iranians say we need to take down the great Satan, referring to the U.S. Well, they're just saying out loud what you think. But most people don't think like that. Think about it. Think about it. That just, I might just blew some people's minds. Yeah. Yes, I will dynamite. The flamethrower has a battery inside of it. And when I was moving from my last residence to this one, the battery charger got put into storage somewhere, and I can't find it. And I've tried finding because I've got a lot of shit. And so as soon as I can find the charging unit to power the pump for the flamethrower, I will be torching that flag, which will happen by spring, at least because right now it's 15 degrees outside, and I'm not digging through a big storage unit to find it. Satan is a twerp. Yes. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, you're right, Kwahu. Those kinds of preachers don't know God, and unfortunately, it's throughout our society nowadays. It's just rampant throughout our society. I mean, I'm just like, having a conversation over there. It's all right. So 18 by. I got to get an XL18 by Throw Flame. Yes, but it will also help depopulation. Not necessarily a bad thing if done the right way. Yeah, Pilgrim Pepper. So am I. We're going to do that at my new place. Well, there's not really a place right now. There's just trees and grass and a road that goes to nowhere. But eventually there will be a cabin there, a nice 4-bedroom cabin for me and the offspring. And that's where we're going to do it at, is out there. But
For who?
because nobody will, when the cows are your neighbors, they're not going to report a flamethrower going off. The last time I did the flamethrower video, I was actually right in city limits, right near a fireworks store. So people were like, that's kind of dangerous. And I was like, yeah, it's all right. But all right. I hope I can give everybody something to think about. Thank you for being here. Again, Dome Keeper, we're just going to keep you as a moderator on there. How many days this sermon will be necessary? Yes. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time. Spread the word, spread the show, let people know. Buckshot Prepper says, packing heaven with fresh souls seems like the next logical move. Well, I think here we go. I'm going to get back on here for a second. I think that in the event that we actually have a conflict, we're not going to be sending a lot of souls to heaven. Don't think that's where they'll be destined for. All right. There we go. Kwahu got it. Yeah. How about packing in hell? There we go. That's right. Most will go to hell. I mean, even if you actually read the Bible, and if you take if you're a literalist, if you're a biblical literalist, there's not a lot of people getting into heaven. Just saying. Because the road is narrow. Yes, a lot of people will be like, I believe in the Bible. Yes, but do you do what it tells you to do? Not a lot of people do what it tells you to do. All right, Beaverines, have a good day. God bless. And I'll see you again as soon as I can. I'm out of here.